Picture this. A vast, rust-colored desert stretches endlessly under a pink sky. But beneath the surface of Mars lies something far more unsettling than barren rock. What if I told you there are structures on Mars so strange, so out of place, that official images seem to blur them out or avoid showing them entirely? For decades, amateur researchers have combed through NASA's own photos, uncovering what look like crumbling pyramids, eerie faces carved into cliffs, and even glass-like tunnels snaking beneath the dust. Yet every time these anomalies surface, they're dismissed as tricks of light or camera glitches. But what if they're not? What if Mars holds the ruins of a civilization we're not supposed to know about? From the infamous face on Mars to geometric patterns that defy natural explanation, the red planet's so-called forbidden archives are fueling conspiracy theories like never before. Why would satellites skip over certain regions? Why do some images appear altered? And what might NASA or someone else be hiding in those missing frames? Strap in, because we're about to dive into the Martian ruins you won't find in any official press release. By the end of this video, you'll see the red planet in a way that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Now let's peel back the layers of one of Mars' greatest puzzles, the sheer number of bizarre structures that defy easy explanation. Over the years, eagle-eyed researchers and amateur astronomers have pored over thousands of satellite images, spotting what appear to be everything from towering pyramids to intricate geometric patterns etched into the landscape. These anomalies don't just look out of place, they seem deliberately designed, as if someone or something left them behind. Take, for instance, the countless images where perfectly angular shapes emerge from the chaotic terrain. On Earth, such symmetry is almost always a sign of intelligent design, whether it's ancient ruins or modern architecture. Yet when these same features appear on Mars, official explanations often chalk them up to wind erosion, trick lighting, or even digital artifacts in the images themselves. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Independent researchers have cataloged these anomalies for decades, cross-referencing coordinates and comparing images across different missions. Some claim that certain structures reappear in multiple photos, defying the odds of random geological processes. Others point to regions where the terrain looks oddly smoothed or leveled, almost as if something was deliberately erased or covered up. NASA, of course, maintains that these findings are simply cases of pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns. And while that might explain some of the more ambiguous images, it doesn't quite account for the sheer volume of anomalies or their uncanny resemblance to artificial structures. So why the disconnect? Are we looking at the remnants of an ancient civilization, or is there another, more mundane explanation? One thing's for certain, the debate over these Martian mysteries is far from over. And as we dig deeper into the most compelling cases, you'll start to see why so many believe the red planet's secrets are being kept just out of reach. But let's zoom in on one of the most iconic and hotly debated anomalies of them all, the so-called face on Mars. Nestled in the Cydonia region, this mysterious formation first captured the world's attention in the late 1970s when NASA's Viking 1 orbiter snapped a grainy black and white image of what appeared to be a humanoid face staring up from the Martian surface. The photo ignited a firestorm of speculation. Was it a trick of light and shadow, or something far more deliberate? At first, NASA scientists dismissed it as nothing more than a natural mesa, a play of sunlight creating the illusion of eyes, a nose, and even what looked like a mouth. But the public wasn't so quick to accept that explanation. Enthusiasts and researchers began scrutinizing the image. pointing out eerie symmetries and details that seem too precise to be random. The debate only intensified when higher-resolution images were taken decades later by missions like Mars Global Surveyor and Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. These newer images revealed a far less defined structure, with the face appearing more eroded and less human-like. NASA doubled down on the natural formation theory, attributing the original appearance to low resolution and favorable lighting. Yet skeptics weren't convinced. Some argued that the later images had been processed in ways that downplayed the original features, while others pointed to surrounding structures, pyramids, and what looked like a crumbling cityscape as potential evidence of a larger, artificial complex. Theories about the face's origins split into two camps. One side insists it's purely geological, shaped by millions of years of wind and dust storms. The other proposes it could be a monument, perhaps carved by an ancient civilization as a tribute or even a message. Some even speculate it might have been designed to resemble a human face intentionally, suggesting a possible connection between Mars and Earth's own ancient cultures. What makes the face so compelling isn't just its appearance, it's the way it challenges our assumptions. If it's just a hill, why does it look so uncannily familiar? And if it's not, what does that say about the history of Mars and our place in the cosmos? Whether you see it as a cosmic coincidence or a deliberate artifact, one thing's clear: the face on Mars remains one of the Red Plan, its most enduring mysteries. Now, let's turn our attention to another striking feature on Mars: the pyramid-like structures scattered across Elysium Planitia. These formations have sparked just as much intrigue as the face on Mars, with their sharp angles and eerily precise alignments. At first glance, they look like they could be the ruins of an ancient civilization, mirroring the pyramids we see here on Earth. But are they really the work of intelligent beings, or is there a simpler explanation? The most famous of these structures is a cluster of what appear to be four-sided pyramids, some with near-perfect symmetry. When compared to Earth's pyramids, like those at Giza, the similarities are hard to ignore. Both sets of structures have clean, geometric shapes, and some researchers have even pointed out that the Martian pyramids seem to follow alignment patterns, just as many ancient Earth pyramids were deliberately positioned to match celestial events. Could this be coincidence, or is there something more deliberate at play? Scientists, however, have a different take. They argue that these formations are the result of natural geological processes. Wind erosion, volcanic activity, and the slow shifting of Martian terrain over millions of years could create angular shapes that only appear artificial. This phenomenon, known as pareidolia, is our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns like faces or buildings in random shapes. It's the same reason we see animals in clouds or faces in rock formations here on Earth. But here's where things get interesting. Some of these Martian pyramids are arranged in ways that seem too orderly to be purely random. A few are spaced at equal distances, and some even appear to form geometric grids. Could natural forces really produce such precise arrangements? Or is there a chance we're looking at something more intentional? The debate continues, with no definitive answers yet. Whether these pyramids are the work of nature or a long-lost civilization, they add another layer of mystery to Mars' already enigmatic landscape. And as we uncover more images and data, the question remains: what else is hiding in the sands of Elysium Planitia? But the mysteries of Mars don't stop at the surface. Let's dig deeper, literally, into one of the most fascinating theories about the Red Planet: the possibility of vast underground networks and glass-like tunnels hidden beneath its dusty exterior. Several images captured by Mars rovers and orbiters reveal strange, tubular structures stretching across the landscape. Some researchers argue these could be remnants of ancient tunnels, possibly made from a glass-like material that once allowed light to filter through. Imagine an entire city beneath the Martian soil, connected by luminous passageways. Could this be science fiction, or is there evidence to back it up? One of the most compelling examples comes from the Elysium Planitia region, where long, hollow-looking formations snake across the terrain. These tubes appear too uniform to be natural lava caves, which are typically more irregular. Some even show what look like collapsed sections, as if the roof of an underground passage caved in over time. Could these be the ruins of an advanced transit system or shelter built by a civilization trying to survive Mars' harsh environment? Then there's the theory that these tunnels were part of a larger subterranean habitat. With Mars' thin atmosphere and extreme radiation, living underground would have been a practical solution for any potential inhabitants. Ancient Earth cultures, like the Cappadocians in Turkey, carved entire cities beneath the ground for protection. If humans could do it, why not an advanced Martian society? Of course, skeptics have their own explanations. They suggest these tubes are simply the result of ancient lava flows, where molten rock carved out channels that later emptied and hardened. Others point to wind erosion shaping the landscape over eons. But here's the twist: some of these tunnels appear to have reflective interiors, almost like glass. Natural lava tubes don't usually have that feature, so what could explain it? One bold hypothesis proposes that these structures were artificially reinforced with a transparent or translucent material, possibly to harness sunlight in the depths of Mars. If true, it would mean an ancient civilization had technology far beyond what we'd expect. Whether these tunnels are natural or engineered, they add another layer of intrigue to Mars' secrets. And if underground cities ever existed, what else might still be buried there, waiting to be discovered? The answer could rewrite history, not just for Mars, but for our understanding of life itself. Now, let's turn our attention to another eerie formation that has sparked debate among Mars researchers: a second face-like structure, often called the Martian Sphinx. Unlike the famous Cydonia face, this one was spotted in a completely different region, raising questions about whether these anomalies are mere coincidences or part of something far more deliberate. The Martian Sphinx was first noticed in images taken by the Mars Global Surveyor, showing a striking resemblance to a humanoid face with distinct features like eyes, a nose, and even what appears to be a mouth. At first glance, it's hard to dismiss the uncanny similarity to the Cydonia face, which NASA initially dismissed as a trick of light and shadow. But here's the catch: this new face is located hundreds of miles away in the Arabia Terra region. Could two separate formations, miles apart, both just happen to look like human faces? Some researchers argue that the odds of two such formations occurring naturally are astronomically low. They point to the symmetry and placement of the features, suggesting these could be remnants of ancient statues or monuments, eroded over time but still retaining their basic shape. Others propose an even wilder idea, that these faces are markers or landmarks, placed intentionally by a civilization that once thrived on Mars. On the other hand, skeptics maintain that this is another classic case of pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to see familiar patterns where none exist. After all, we've all seen faces in clouds or shapes in random rock formations. But here's where it gets interesting. High-resolution images of the Martian Sphinx reveal what some claim are additional details. like what could be a headdress or even inscriptions around the base. If true, it would challenge the pareidolia explanation and suggest something far more intentional. Comparing it to the Cydonia face, the similarities are hard to ignore. Both have a symmetrical layout, with features that align almost too perfectly to be random. Yet, the differences in their locations and surrounding terrain raise another question: were these structures part of a larger network or cultural system? Could they have served a purpose, like religious sites or territorial markers, for a civilization long gone? Whether these faces are natural oddities or artificial relics, their existence adds fuel to the mystery of Mars' past. If they are just tricks of geology, why do they look so deliberately crafted? And if they're not, what does that say about the planet's history? The answers might still be buried in the red dust, waiting for the right mission or the right image to uncover the truth. Moving deeper into the mysteries of Mars, let's explore the strange and unsettling landscape of Utopia Planitia. This vast plain holds some of the most puzzling formations on the planet, geometric patterns and structures that look eerily like crumbling walls or the foundations of long-abandoned buildings. Satellite images reveal grids of straight lines and right angles, almost as if someone once laid out a city block or a series of fortified walls. Some of these formations stretch for miles, with edges so sharp they defy the usual randomness of natural erosion. Researchers have zoomed in on these anomalies, noting how certain sections appear to align in ways that geology alone can't easily explain. One of the most debated features is a cluster of what look like rectangular foundations, arranged in a pattern that resembles ancient Earth ruins. Could these be the remnants of a Martian settlement, buried under dust and time? Proponents of the artificial origin theory point to the precision of the angles and the repetitive shapes, arguing that nature rarely produces such orderly designs without some form of intelligent influence. But skeptics counter with a simpler explanation: frost polygons. On Earth, similar patterns form in Arctic regions when freezing and thawing cycles crack the ground into geometric shapes. Mars, with its extreme temperature swings, could easily create comparable features. Yet, even this explanation doesn't fully account for the scale and complexity of some of these formations. Some sections appear layered, almost like the collapsed floors of a multi-level structure, while others show what might be the outlines of courtyards or plazas. Adding to the intrigue, Utopia Planitia is also home to one of Mars' largest underground ice deposits. If liquid water once flowed here, could it have supported a civilization that built these structures? Or are we seeing the aftermath of some bizarre geological process we don't yet understand? The debate rages on, with each new image from orbit fueling more questions than answers. Whether these ruins are the work of nature or a lost civilization, one thing is certain: Utopia Planitia holds secrets that challenge our understanding of Mars' past. And as we uncover more, the line between geology and archaeology on the Red Planet grows ever blurrier. Next, we'll delve into one of the most controversial topics surrounding Mars exploration: the accusations that NASA itself might be hiding the truth about what's really on the surface. Now, let's turn our attention to a topic that has sparked heated debates among Mars researchers: the persistent claims that NASA might be altering or even hiding crucial details in the images they release to the public. Over the years, eagle-eyed observers have pointed out inconsistencies in satellite photos, from strange blurring effects to entire sections of images that appear suspiciously edited or missing. One of the most glaring examples involves the use of filters. Some high-resolution images from Mars show patches where the texture of the terrain suddenly changes, as if someone applied a digital smudge tool. In certain cases, these blurred areas coincide with spots where anomalies like potential structures or unusual geometric patterns were previously spotted in lower-resolution images. Why would NASA obscure these sections if they were just natural rock formations? Then there's the issue of missing frames. Independent researchers have noted that some raw data from Mars missions contains gaps, with entire sequences of images mysteriously absent from public archives. NASA has explained these omissions as technical glitches or transmission errors, but skeptics argue that the missing frames often align with regions where anomalies are frequently reported. Could these gaps be deliberate, hiding something the agency doesn't want the public to see? Another red flag is the inconsistent coloring of Mars images. While NASA states that color adjustments are necessary to simulate how the human eye would see the Martian landscape, some images show drastic variations in hue and lighting between versions. Critics suggest these alterations might be masking details, like artificial structures or even signs of vegetation, that wouldn't fit the official narrative of a barren, lifeless planet. Perhaps the most controversial claim is that NASA actively censors certain discoveries. Whistleblowers and former contractors have come forward, alleging that the agency has a protocol for reviewing and modifying images before release, removing anything deemed too sensitive. While NASA denies these accusations, the sheer volume of anomalies and inconsistencies keeps the suspicion alive. So, why would an organization dedicated to exploration and science withhold or alter data? Some theorize it's about controlling the narrative, avoiding public panic, or protecting funding by drip-feeding discoveries. Others believe it's something far bigger, like evidence of past or present life that would upend our understanding of the universe. Whatever the truth, the controversy surrounding NASA's image handling only deepens the mystery of what's really hiding in plain sight on Mars. Next, we'll explore one of the most fascinating theories tying these anomalies together: the idea that Mars was once home to an advanced civilization, and the clues might be buried not just in the soil, but in humanity's oldest myths. Now, let's venture into one of the most captivating ideas surrounding Mars: the possibility that it was once home to a lost civilization. This theory isn't just wild speculation. It's rooted in a mix of scientific evidence and ancient earthly parallels that make you wonder if we're staring at the ruins of a forgotten Martian society. Take Mars' watery past, for example. Scientists agree that billions of years ago, Mars had rivers, lakes, and even vast oceans. If liquid water existed for so long, could it have supported life advanced enough to build structures? Some researchers point to the planet's geology, like dried-up riverbeds and mineral deposits that only form in water, as clues that Mars was once far more Earth-like. And if Earth could give rise to civilizations, why not Mars? Then there are the eerie similarities between Martian anomalies and Earth's ancient myths. The so-called pyramids of Mars, for instance, bear a striking resemblance to the pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica. Could these be coincidental formations or signs of a shared architectural blueprint? Even more intriguing is the legend of Atlantis, a technologically advanced civilization said to have vanished beneath the waves. If Mars once had water, could its own Atlantis have met a similar fate, leaving behind only cryptic ruins? Some scientists propose that a cataclysmic event stripped Mars of its atmosphere and water, dooming any potential civilization. This aligns with evidence of massive floods and sudden climate shifts in the planet's history. But here's the twist. What if survivors of this disaster left Mars and came to Earth? Ancient astronaut theorists suggest that myths of gods descending from the skies might actually be garbled accounts of Martian refugees sharing knowledge with early humans. Of course, mainstream science remains skeptical, attributing most anomalies to pareidolia, the human tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns. Yet the sheer number of these patterns, combined with NASA's image controversies, keeps the debate alive. Whether you believe in ancient Martians or not, the idea forces us to rethink humanity's place in the cosmos. Could we be the heirs of a civilization that once thrived on another planet? Next, we'll examine another puzzling phenomenon: unexplained light sources spotted on the Martian surface. Are they mere camera glitches or something far more mysterious? But here's something that really makes you pause: bright, unexplained lights flickering on the Martian surface. These aren't just random specks in images. Some appear too sharp, too deliberate, sparking debates about what could possibly be causing them. One of the most famous examples comes from a NASA rover image showing a bright beam of light shooting upward from the ground. Skeptics argue it's just a cosmic ray hitting the camera sensor or sunlight reflecting off a rock. But here's the catch: the light stands alone, with no nearby surfaces to explain the reflection. Even more baffling, similar lights have been spotted in multiple locations, sometimes in sequences that don't match known natural phenomena. Then there's the theory of underground activity. If Mars once had, or still has, volcanic or geothermal vents, could these lights be escaping gases igniting? On Earth, methane flares can produce brief, intense bursts of light. But Mars' thin atmosphere makes sustained flames unlikely, leaving scientists scratching their heads. Of course, the most controversial idea is artificial origin. Could these be signs of subsurface energy sources, perhaps even remnants of technology? Ancient astronaut theorists point to Earth's own myths, like the eternal flames worshipped by some cultures, and wonder if Martian survivors left behind similar markers. NASA, meanwhile, maintains these are lens flares or dust devils catching the light, explanations that don't always fit the odd patterns witnesses describe. What's undeniable is how these lights keep appearing in images from different missions, often in regions with other anomalies. Whether they're natural quirks or something more, they add another layer to Mars' enduring mystery. Now, let's turn to another enigma, a towering monolith that seems too perfectly placed to be random. What secrets might this structure hold? Shifting our gaze to another striking anomaly, we come across the mysterious monolith standing stark against the Martian landscape. Captured by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, this towering slab of rock appears almost too precise, too geometric, to be a mere trick of nature. Its sharp edges and upright position have fueled endless speculation. Could this be a deliberate marker, or even an artifact left behind by an ancient civilization? On Earth, monoliths like those at Stonehenge or the massive obelisks of ancient Egypt were often erected with purpose, serving as monuments, calendars, or even ceremonial sites. The Moon, too, has its own enigmatic monolith, discovered in images from the Apollo missions, standing solitary in a desolate crater. The similarities are hard to ignore. Could these structures be connected, part of some grand, forgotten design spanning across celestial bodies? Scientists lean toward natural explanations, suggesting that wind erosion or fracturing could carve such shapes over millennia. Yet, the monolith's isolation and near-perfect proportions raise questions. Why does it stand alone in an otherwise featureless plane? And why do these formations keep appearing in places tied to human curiosity? Mars, the Moon, and Earth's own ancient sites. Some theorists propose it could be a beacon, a navigational aid for travelers long gone. Others wonder if it's a remnant of a lost Martian culture, a silent sentinel watching over a dead world. NASA, as always, remains cautious, attributing it to pareidolia, our tendency to see familiar shapes in random formations. But when the same oddities keep surfacing, it's hard to dismiss them as mere coincidence. Whether natural or artificial, the monolith adds another puzzle to Mars' growing archive of mysteries. And as we uncover more, one thing becomes clear: the red planet still has stories to tell. Now, let's turn our attention to the strange markings etched into Martian rocks, symbols that some believe could be the handwriting of an ancient civilization. Moving beyond the monolith, let's examine another layer of mystery: the peculiar symbols and markings scattered across Martian rocks. These strange carvings, captured in rover images, have sparked debates about whether they're natural fractures or something far more intentional. Some patterns bear an uncanny resemblance to ancient Earth scripts like cuneiform or hieroglyphs, raising the tantalizing question: could these be remnants of a lost Martian language? Take, for instance, the so-called Mars runes, photographed by Curiosity. Linear grooves and geometric shapes cluster together in ways that seem too orderly for random erosion. On Earth, similar markings have been found in prehistoric caves, often tied to early human communication. If Mars once had liquid water and a thicker atmosphere, as evidence suggests, could it have also hosted a civilization advanced enough to leave behind such traces? Skeptics argue that wind and dust abrasion over billions of years could create these formations. They point to pareidolia again, our brains hardwired to find meaning in chaos. Yet, certain symbols repeat in different locations, like a recurring motif. Why would nature carve the same, accidental shapes miles apart? One compelling theory ties these markings to petroglyphs, rock carvings used by ancient cultures to record events or beliefs. If true, decoding them could unlock secrets of Mars' past. Imagine uncovering a Martian Rosetta Stone, a key to understanding a world that once thrived. NASA hasn't dismissed these anomalies outright, but emphasizes the need for rigorous analysis. After all, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Still, the persistence of these symbols, alongside other Martian oddities, keeps the door open to wonder. Whether natural or artificial, they add another piece to the puzzle, one that challenges us to keep looking closer. Next, we'll delve into the whispers of secrecy surrounding NAS, handling of these discoveries, why some believe the truth is being kept just out of reach. Now, let's peel back another layer of this mystery. Why would NASA stay silent about these Martian anomalies? The agency's cautious approach has fueled endless speculation, with theories ranging from the practical to the downright conspiratorial. One straightforward explanation is the fear of public panic. History shows how easily misinformation spreads, especially when it comes to extraterrestrial life. NASA might worry that confirming unexplained structures or symbols could trigger unnecessary hysteria, even if the evidence isn't conclusive. Think back to the infamous War of the Worlds radio broadcast in the 1930s, where a fictional alien invasion caused real-world chaos. Could NASA be trying to avoid a modern-day version of that scenario? Then there's the issue of funding and credibility. Space exploration budgets rely heavily on public and political support. If NASA were to announce a discovery as monumental as alien ruins without irrefutable proof, it could backfire, damaging their reputation or even jeopardizing future missions. Scientists within the agency might prefer to wait until they have rock-solid data, even if it means moving at a glacial pace, but skeptics argue there's more to it. Some point to proprietary technology, advanced imaging tools, or analysis methods that NASA doesn't want to share with rival space programs. By keeping certain images classified or heavily edited, they could maintain a technological edge over countries like China or Russia, who are rapidly expanding their own Mars missions. And then, of course, there are the darker theories, undisclosed agendas, secret collaborations, or even knowledge of a past Martian civilization deemed too explosive to reveal. Could there be truths about Mars that challenge our understanding of history, religion, or human origins? While these ideas veer into speculation, they persist because secrecy, by its very nature, invites imagination. NASA's official stance is one of transparency, with terabytes of raw data available to the public. Yet, the gaps, the blurred images, the missing frames, the delayed releases keep the debate alive. Whether it's caution, strategy, or something more enigmatic, the silence speaks volumes. Next, we'll dive into the tantalizing possibility of what, or who might have once thrived on Mars, as we explore the theory of a lost civilization and its haunting parallels to Earth. Now, let's turn our attention to something even more groundbreaking: Mars' underground lakes. Recent discoveries have revealed vast reservoirs of liquid water hidden beneath the planet's surface, and this changes everything. If water exists in these quantities, could it mean Mars once harbored life? More importantly, does this tie directly to the mysterious ruins we've been exploring? Scientists have long known that water is the key to life as we understand it. On Earth, where there's water, there's almost always some form of life, even in the harshest environments. Mars, with its underground lakes, suddenly becomes a prime candidate for past, or even present, microbial life. These reservoirs aren't just small pockets. Some are massive, spanning hundreds of miles beneath the polar ice caps. If life ever existed on Mars, these hidden lakes could have been its last refuge as the planet's surface dried up. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. If Mars once had flowing rivers and vast oceans, as geological evidence suggests, could an advanced civilization have thrived there? The ruins we've seen, pyramids, walls, even what appear to be tunnels, could be remnants of a society that relied on these water sources. Some researchers speculate that as Mars' climate catastrophically shifted, survivors might have retreated underground, using these lakes to sustain themselves. Imagine entire cities hidden beneath the dust, their existence erased by time or deliberately concealed. NASA's own data supports the idea that Mars was once far wetter than it is today. Satellite images show ancient river valleys, dried-up lake beds, and even evidence of massive floods. If water shaped Mars' past, then these underground lakes could be the missing link connecting the planet's watery history to the eerie structures we see today. But here's the big question: if life did exist, or still exists, in these underground lakes, why hasn't NASA been more vocal about it? Some argue it's because the evidence isn't conclusive yet. Others believe it's part of a larger pattern of secrecy. After all, confirming extraterrestrial life, even in microbial form, would be one of the most profound discoveries in human history. As we piece together Mars' watery past and its strange ruins, one thing becomes clear: the planet's secrets are far from fully uncovered. Next, we'll hear from those who claim to have insider knowledge, as we delve into whistleblower testimonies and what they reveal about Mars' hidden truths. Now, let's shift our focus to the voices that claim to know more than what's publicly acknowledged: whistleblowers who say they've seen evidence of Mars' hidden truths. Over the years, several individuals with alleged ties to NASA or its contractors have come forward with startling claims about what's really been discovered on the Red Planet. These testimonies, if true, could rewrite our understanding of Mars and its mysteries. One of the most talked about accounts comes from a former NASA employee who worked on image processing for Mars missions. This individual claimed that certain satellite images were deliberately altered or withheld to obscure what appeared to be artificial structures. According to them, the decision to edit these images came from higher-ups, suggesting a coordinated effort to keep certain discoveries under wraps. While skeptics argue this could simply be a disgruntled worker's fabrication, the consistency of similar claims from other sources raises eyebrows. Then there's the case of a contractor who allegedly worked on Mars rover data. They reported seeing unusual patterns in the terrain that didn't match natural geological formations, patterns that resembled crumbling walls or even roads. When they raised concerns, they were told to focus only on the official analysis and ignore anomalies. Stories like this fuel the debate over whether NASA is hiding something, or if these are just misunderstandings of complex scientific data. But how credible are these claims? It's important to note that whistleblower testimonies often lack verifiable evidence. Many operate under anonymity, making it hard to confirm their backgrounds or motives. Yet, the sheer number of similar accounts from different sources suggests there might be more to the story. Some researchers argue that even if only a fraction of these claims are true, they warrant serious investigation. The implications are staggering. If insiders are correct and evidence of past or present life, or even ancient structures has been found, why the secrecy? Some speculate it's to avoid public panic or to protect technological advancements derived from studying these discoveries. Others believe it's about controlling the narrative until definitive proof is ready. Whatever the reason, these testimonies add another layer to the enigma of Mars. As we weigh these claims, one thing is certain: the conversation about Mars isn't just happening in scientific journals. It's unfolding in the shadows, through the voices of those who say they've seen what we're not supposed to know. Next, we'll explore how these Martian anomalies compare to ancient structures on Earth, and whether the two worlds might share a surprising connection. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What if the strange structures on Mars aren't just random anomalies, but part of a pattern we've seen before, right here on Earth? The idea that Martian ruins might resemble ancient sites on our own planet has fascinated researchers for decades. From the pyramids of Giza to the terraces of Machu Picchu, there are striking similarities that raise questions about whether these distant worlds share a hidden connection. Take the pyramids in Egypt, for example. Their precise alignment with celestial bodies and mathematical perfection have long puzzled historians. Now, compare them to the pyramid-like formations spotted in Mars' Elysium Planitia. The angles, the symmetry. It's hard to dismiss the resemblance as mere coincidence. Some theorists argue that if these structures were built by intelligent beings, they might have followed the same design principles across planets. Others counter that wind and erosion can create surprisingly geometric shapes over millions of years. So where does the truth lie? Then there's the ancient astronaut theory, which suggests that advanced extraterrestrial visitors might have influenced early human civilizations. Proponents point to myths and legends from cultures worldwide that speak of gods descending from the sky, sharing knowledge or even building monumental structures. If Mars once hosted a civilization, could these gods have been Martians? Or could both planets have been visited by the same unknown builders? It's a provocative idea, but one that gains traction when you look at the parallels in architecture and mythology. Consider the Nazca lines in Peru, massive geoglyphs etched into the desert, best seen from above. Some researchers argue they were meant as signals or landing markers for aerial observers. Now look at the geometric patterns in Mars Cydonia Planitia. Could these, too, be messages or remnants of a lost technology? The similarities are uncanny, but skeptics remind us that nature can produce equally puzzling designs without any intelligent intervention. What's fascinating is how these comparisons force us to rethink not just Mars, but our own history. If the ruins on Mars are artificial, does that mean human civilization is part of a much older, interstellar story? Or are we simply seeing what we want to see, projecting our own myths onto the rocks and dust of another world? The debate is far from settled, but one thing is clear: the more we explore, the more questions arise. Next, we'll examine the scientific explanations behind these Martian anomalies, weighing the evidence for artificial origins against the power of natural geological processes. Are we looking at the remnants of an ancient civilization? Or is pareidolia the human tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns playing tricks on us? The answer might surprise you. Now, let's shift our focus to the heart of the debate. Are these Martian structures genuine artifacts of a lost civilization, or simply the work of natural forces playing tricks on our imagination? This is where science steps in to separate fact from fiction. Geologists point out that Mars is a planet sculpted by extreme conditions, violent winds, ancient floods, and volcanic activity that could carve out formations resembling pyramids, walls, or even faces over millions of years. Take the famous Face on Mars in Cydonia. High-resolution images later revealed it as a heavily eroded mesa, a natural landform shaped by weathering. Scientists call this phenomenon pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to impose familiar patterns, like faces or buildings, onto random shapes. It's why we see dragons in clouds or faces in toast. But here's where it gets interesting. While pareidolia explains some anomalies, other features are harder to dismiss. The pyramid-like structures in Elysium Planitia, for instance, exhibit near-perfect symmetry and alignment, uncommon in natural geology. Some researchers argue that wind erosion alone couldn't produce such precise angles. Yet, others counter with examples from Earth, like the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, where volcanic activity created astonishingly geometric basalt columns. Could similar processes be at work on Mars? Then there's the role of light and shadow. Many structures appear dramatically different depending on the sun's angle or the resolution of the image. What looks like a crumbling wall at noon might resemble a jagged cliff by dusk. Satellite image artifacts, like pixelation or compression glitches, can also create illusions of straight lines or artificial shapes. NASA scientists emphasize this when debunking claims of hidden cities or glass tunnels, urging caution before jumping to extraterrestrial conclusions. But let's not ignore the outliers. Some features, like the repetitive geometric patterns in Cydonia Planitia, lack clear natural analogues. Independent researchers have highlighted these as potential evidence of intelligent design, though mainstream science remains skeptical. The challenge: without physical samples or closer inspection, it's nearly impossible to prove intent behind these formations. So where does that leave us? The scientific consensus leans heavily toward natural explanations, but the door isn't entirely closed. As planetary geologist Dr. Angela Stickle notes, Mars is a world of wonders we're still learning to interpret. Absence of proof isn't proof of absence, but extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. What's undeniable is how these mysteries push us to explore further. Whether the ruins are real or not, they've ignited a quest for answers that could redefine our place in the cosmos. Up next, we'll delve into how private space companies might change the game, offering new tools and perhaps new truths about Mars' most guarded secrets. Now, let's turn our attention to a new player in the Martian mystery: private space companies. While NASA has long been the authority on Mars exploration, firms like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others are stepping onto the stage with ambitious plans that could rewrite the script entirely. These companies operate with a different mindset, less bureaucracy, more risk-taking, and a hunger for breakthroughs. SpaceX's Starship, for example, is designed to carry heavy payloads and even humans to Mars, potentially enabling up-close investigations of those controversial sites NASA rovers have only glimpsed from a distance. Imagine a team of independent researchers or even civilian astronauts landing near the pyramids of Elysium or the geometric patterns of Utopia Planitia, armed with high-resolution scanners and drills. The data they collect could either debunk the anomalies once and for all, or confirm something far more startling. But here's the twist: private missions aren't bound by the same protocols as government agencies. While NASA meticulously curates and often delays releasing raw images, companies like SpaceX might stream footage live or share unfiltered data with the public. Could this transparency accidentally unveil structures or artifacts that were previously obscured? Some theorists argue yes, pointing to Elon Musk's cryptic tweets about ancient alien civilizations and SpaceX's partnerships with scientists who have openly challenged NASA interpretations. Of course, skeptics counter that private firms have their own agendas, funding, patents, or even sensationalism to attract investors. A blurry image of a ruin could go viral, driving stock prices up, even if it's just an oddly shaped rock. Yet, the sheer volume of new missions planned, from robotic landers to crewed expeditions, means more eyes on Mars than ever before. With multiple cameras, sensors, and even AI analyzing the terrain in real time, it'll be harder to dismiss or ignore anomalies as mere pareidolia. The bigger question isn't just what these companies might find, but how their discoveries could shift public perception. If a private rover stumbles upon undeniable evidence of artificial structures, would governments intervene, or would the floodgates open, forcing NASA and other agencies to revisit their own archives with fresh scrutiny? One thing's certain: the race to Mars is no longer just a scientific endeavor, it's a cultural and ideological battleground. And as private companies push boundaries, they might not just change how we explore Mars, but what we're allowed to know about it. Up next, we'll examine how pop culture has shaped our fascination with Martian ruins, blurring the line between myth and potential reality. Now, shifting our gaze from the real-world race to Mars, let's explore how fiction has fueled our obsession with the Red Planet's secrets. For decades, pop culture has painted Mars as a world of ancient mysteries, blending science with speculation in ways that linger in our collective imagination. Take Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, where crumbling cities and enigmatic natives hint at a lost civilization, stories so vivid they've influenced how we interpret real Martian anomalies. Then there's Total Recall, with its buried alien machines and terraforming conspiracies, turning Mars into a cinematic playground for hidden histories. These narratives didn't just entertain, they primed us to see patterns. When satellite images reveal odd shapes on Mars, it's hard not to recall the towering statues of John Carter or the eerie ruins from Mission to Mars. Even blockbusters like The Martian, grounded in realism, subtly reinforce the idea of Mars as a puzzle waiting to be solved. The line between fiction and theory blurs further with documentaries and YouTube deep dives that borrow Hollywood's visual language, framing rocky outcrops as evidence with dramatic music and zoom effects. But here's the twist. Pop culture doesn't just reflect our curiosity, it amplifies it. Every sci-fi tale about Martian pyramids or alien artifacts nudges public expectations, making NASA, a dry, geological explanations feel unsatisfying by comparison. When a filmmaker or novelist imagines a Martian sphinx, it sparks real-world debates. Could art be predicting truth, or are we projecting earthly myths onto a barren landscape? This feedback loop between media and mystery keeps the conspiracy alive. The more Mars appears in stories as a graveyard of lost civilizations, the harder it becomes to dismiss anomalies as mere rocks. Up next, we'll tackle the critical question: how to separate photographic fact from fiction when scrutinizing these Martian enigmas. Now, let's get practical. When it comes to those jaw-dropping Mars images, how can we tell what's real and what's just a trick of the light or even deliberate manipulation? The truth is, analyzing these photos requires a mix of skepticism and science. First, always check the source. NASA raw image archives are public, but not every leaked photo comes from there. Look for official labels and mission data. If it's from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter or Curiosity rover, you're on solid ground. One big pitfall: pareidolia, our brain's habit of seeing familiar shapes in random patterns. That face or statue might just be a shadowed rock. Zoom out. High-resolution images often reveal mundane geology when viewed from different angles. Another red flag is oversaturated colors. Some researchers boost contrast or tweak hues to make features pop, but that can distort reality. Stick to unaltered grayscale or natural color versions when possible. Then there's the stitching problem. Mars panoramas are often mosaics of multiple shots. Glitches at the seams can create phantom structures or doors where none exist. And watch for compression artifacts, those blurry pixels or jagged edges that conspiracy sites sometimes mistake for alien tech. But what about accusations of NASA airbrushing evidence? Some claim missing frames or blurred zones hint at cover-ups, while anomalies happen, like transmission errors or lens flares. They're rarely sinister. Before crying foul, cross-reference with other missions. If the European Space Agency's Mars Express shows the same ruin as a plain old hill, odds are it's just that. The bottom line: stay curious, but arm yourself with context. Next time you spot a Martian monolith, ask, is there a simpler explanation? Because on Mars, the truth is often stranger and more fascinating than fiction. Now, let's shift our focus to something that might explain why certain discoveries on Mars seem to stay hidden: the intersection of government secrecy and public perception. Back in 1960, a little-known but groundbreaking study called the Brookings Report was commissioned by NASA itself. Its purpose: to explore the potential societal impacts of discovering extraterrestrial life. What it suggested was startling. The report openly discussed the idea that revealing evidence of advanced alien civilizations, especially if they were extinct, could cause widespread panic or even societal collapse. Fast forward to today, and this logic might still be at play. Think about it. If NASA or other space agencies uncovered ruins or artifacts suggesting Mars once hosted intelligent life, how would the world react? The Brookings report argued that humanity might not be psychologically prepared for such a revelation. It's not hard to see why some believe this philosophy could still influence decisions about what Mars imagery gets released or altered. Critics point to instances where NASA has been accused of blurring or cropping images, or even delaying their release, while official explanations often cite technical glitches or processing delays. The shadow of the Brookings report looms large. Could these actions be part of a quiet effort to manage how, or if, the public learns about potential Martian anomalies? Of course, not everyone buys into this theory. Skeptics argue that the Brookings report was merely a speculative study, not a policy blueprint. They point out that NASA's transparency with raw image data contradicts the idea of a cover-up. But the question remains, why does the report's logic feel so relevant today? Whether it's ancient ruins or strange artifacts, the fear of public upheaval might still shape what we're allowed to see. So next time you hear whispers about hidden Martian archives, remember the Brookings report. It's a reminder that the truth isn't just about what's out there, it's also about whether we're ready to handle it. And that tension between discovery and secrecy, it's as old as space exploration itself. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most haunting questions about Mars. What if its barren landscape wasn't always this way? What if a catastrophic event wiped out a civilization that once thrived there? The evidence for this theory lies in the planet's dramatic climate history. Scientists have long known that Mars wasn't always the frozen desert we see today. Orbital images reveal scars of ancient river valleys, lake beds, and even signs of massive floods that once carved the terrain. These features suggest Mars once had flowing water, a thicker atmosphere, and possibly even conditions suitable for life. But something went terribly wrong. Around 3.5 billion years ago, Mars began to lose its atmosphere. Solar winds, combined with the planet's weakening magnetic field, stripped away the protective layers that kept water liquid on the surface. The rivers dried up, the lakes evaporated, and the planet's surface became increasingly hostile. Some researchers believe this shift wasn't gradual. It was a rapid collapse, a climate catastrophe that could have wiped out any emerging civilization in a geological blink. The most striking evidence comes from Mars' northern lowlands, where scientists have identified what appear to be ancient shorelines. These suggest that a vast ocean once covered much of the planet's northern hemisphere. If true, the disappearance of this ocean would have been apocalyptic. Imagine entire cities, if they existed, submerged and then left to crumble under the harsh conditions that followed. Then there's the mystery of methane. On Earth, methane is often produced by living organisms. On Mars, its sporadic detection has fueled speculation about possible underground reservoirs or even remnants of past life. Could this gas be a lingering trace of a civilization that perished when the planet's climate turned deadly? Of course, not everyone agrees. Mainstream science argues that Mars' climate shift was a natural process, one that never allowed complex life to develop in the first place. But the sheer scale of the planet's transformation leaves room for debate. If a civilization did exist, its ruins could now lie buried under dust or ice, waiting to be uncovered. So the next time you look at Mars, remember, it might not just be a dead world. It could be a graveyard of a lost civilization, a cautionary tale of what happens when a planet's climate spirals out of control. And if that's true, the ruins we're searching for might hold more than just secrets. they could hold a warning for our own future. But here's the real question. Could the truth about Mars' hidden past finally come to light in the near future? The next wave of missions to the Red Planet might hold the answers. Space agencies around the world are gearing up for deeper exploration, and this time, they're equipped with technology that could uncover what's been buried for billions of years. Let's start with the European Space Agency's ExoMars mission, set to launch in the coming years. This ambitious project includes a rover designed to drill deep into the Martian soil, searching for signs of past life. Unlike previous missions that only scratched the surface, ExoMars could reach layers untouched for eons where evidence of ancient civilizations, if they existed, might still be preserved. Then there's China's Tianwen program, which has already made headlines with its successful rover landings. Their next steps include sample return missions, aiming to bring Martian rocks and soil back to Earth for detailed analysis. If there are artificial structures or unusual materials hidden in those samples, labs on Earth could detect what orbiters and rovers might miss. NASA isn't sitting idle either. The Mars Sample Return Mission, a collaboration with the European Space Agency, plans to collect and transport Martian samples by the end of this decade. But even more intriguing is NAS, a focus on exploring Mars caves and lava tubes, places where remnants of past life, or even ruins, could be shielded from radiation and erosion. Private companies like SpaceX are also entering the game. Elon Musk has made no secret of his goal to establish a human presence on Mars. While the focus is on colonization, the sheer number of eyes on the ground, human and robotic, could stumble upon discoveries that rewrite history. The big takeaway: we're on the verge of a new era in Martian exploration, with multiple missions targeting different aspects of the planet's mysteries. The chances of uncovering something groundbreaking have never been higher. Whether it's fossilized microbes, strange artifacts, or even the faint traces of a lost civilization, the next decade could finally reveal what Mars has been hiding all this time. And if that happens, it won't just change our understanding of Mars, it could change everything we think we know about life in the universe. Now, as we bring this journey to a close, let's piece together the most striking clues that suggest Mars holds secrets far beyond what we've been told. From the enigmatic face in Cydonia to the geometric precision of the pyramids in Elysium Planitia, these anomalies defy simple explanations. The glass-like tunnels stretching beneath the surface, the strange monolith standing alone in a barren landscape, and the eerie symbols etched into rocks, all hint at something extraordinary. And let's not forget the accusations of image tampering, with missing frames and blurred details that only fuel suspicions of a deliberate cover-up. What's even more compelling is how these discoveries echo ancient myths and theories about lost civilizations. Could Mars have once been a thriving world, only to meet a catastrophic fate? The recent detection of underground lakes and the potential for past life only deepen the mystery. Add to that the whispers from alleged insiders, and it's hard not to wonder what's really being kept from the public. But here's the thing: the truth isn't static. With every new mission, every rover that rolls across the dust, and every sample brought back to Earth, we get closer to answers. So stay curious, question the narratives that don't add up. Keep your eyes on the horizon, because the next big revelation could be just around the corner. If this exploration of Mars' forbidden archives has sparked your curiosity, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss the next deep dive into the universe's greatest mysteries. And drop a comment below. What's the most compelling Martian anomaly to you? The face, the pyramids, or something we haven't uncovered yet? Let's keep the conversation going, because the search for truth is far from over. Before we wrap up, let's make sure you're part of this ongoing investigation. If these Martian mysteries have left you questioning what's really out there, don't keep it to yourself. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which anomaly fascinates you the most? The haunting face on Mars, those puzzling pyramid formations, or the strange lights that defy explanation? Your input could shape our next deep dive into the unknown. And if you're hungry for more cosmic secrets, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The universe is full of enigmas waiting to be uncovered, and you won't want to miss what we explore next. Together, let's keep peeling back the layers of Mars' forbidden archives, because the truth is out there, and it's closer than we think. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep looking up. The next big revelation might just be one mission away.